Well, Steve Lonegan's a great candidate, and I think he's the kind of candidate really that we need to grow the Republican Party. He'd be a perfect fit for New Jersey. I think he has like I say, a healthy reluctance and circumspection about war. He believes, as I do, that war should be declared by Congress, not by a president. He seems to have made some comments about American surveillance that showed that he's concerned about the Constitution and our right to privacy, and he's fiscally very conservative, all of the things that we need in the U.S. Senate. So, yeah, I'm happy to endorse Steve Lonegan, and we'll look and see what more we can do for him.
All right, there you go. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. That was Senator Rand Paul a week ago on this show, endorsing my next guest for the U.S. Senate, the Republican candidate for that position from the state of New Jersey, Mayor Steve Lonegan. Hey, Steve, how are you, sir?
I'm great. I really appreciate the senator's endorsement. He's accurate right down the line.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, he was very, very enthusiastic about you, and I understand he may even be coming to the Garden State.
He will be coming to New York City on September 13th and then coming over to New Jersey for a rally. We're very excited about all of the support and the momentum. We're 7 weeks out tomorrow, 7 weeks from tomorrow, from the biggest U.S. Senate race in the country, a bellwether election for what may happen in the U.S. Senate next year. Steve, this is a referendum on Obama's agenda, on Obamacare and the Constitution, and it might actually turn out now to be a referendum on whether or not this country...
All right, we lost Steve, so let's try to get him back. I could predict what he's going to say. It might wind up to be a referendum on whether or not this country should be going to war and bombing Syria. Why do I just think that that's what he's going to say? Let's see if we could get Steve back. He probably, there's a chance when this happens sometimes you could still be talking and not know that you've been disconnected, and that might be the case here. So we're going to try to reestablish contact with Steve Lonegan. I could tell from the get-go that the cell phone, which is an amazing, here we go, we got him back, and we're getting him back. I could tell from the get-go it might have been in a low cell area, as they say. Anyway, he's running against Cory Booker, the former mayor of Newark, the current mayor of Newark, New Jersey, and of course that election 7 weeks from tomorrow, today, I guess. He said tomorrow, but I think the election would be on a Tuesday, and that would be today. Of course, I've been wrong once before in my life, so you never know. But Steve Lonegan is an amazing story. He's legally blind. He was raised by his mother. Nothing ever came easy in his life. He's worked hard for everything he's had, and he's an amazing man. He was a longtime mayor of a town in New Jersey, Bogota, and now he's running for the U.S. Senate. Do we any luck? Trying to get him back. Now, Cory Booker made some interesting remarks. He gave an interview to the Washington Post, which we'll get to in a second. But we do have Steve Lonegan back. Steve, I don't know when you think we lost you, but I think you were about to say that this will also be a referendum on what Obama might be about to do when it concerns Syria.
Yes, and it's a referendum on Obama's failed Middle East agenda and his foreign policy failures. You might remember back in 2009, Steve, when Hillary Clinton showed up in Russia and she had that reset, remote control, and she was going to reset foreign policy. It was embarrassing when she did it at the time. It was a cheap prop, and now we know what resetting means. It means failed foreign policy in the Middle East, where our allies don't even trust us, where we're losing our stature, where we've basically outsourced our Middle Eastern foreign policy to Prime Minister Erdogan in Turkey, who's been funneling rebels into Syria, stirring up the civil war. And I believe this administration has been looking for an excuse to get into this war, and I will not stand for it.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that. Let's talk about some of the things you said, about Cory Booker. It's just assumed that he's this wonder man of sorts who came into Newark, and now Newark is doing so well. But you've said quite the opposite.
Steve, they had another murder in the streets of Newark yesterday. A 20-year-old girl shot to death in the streets of Newark. There was another shooting not far from there. That puts them at close to 50 deaths this year in the city of Newark. I mean, it's like becoming the murder capital of New Jersey. Violent crime is actually up now since Sharp James was mayor, up above the last year of the James administration. We have a dropout rate in the school system, one of the most expensive school districts in the United States of America. Dropout rate of about 70%, which is unconscionable. And after millions, in fact, billions of tax dollars, suburban tax dollars and federal tax dollars poured into Newark for all kinds of redevelopment and corporate subsidies, a whopping 15% unemployment rate.
He made he made some remarks, Cory Booker did. He gave an interview to the Washington Post, and I just want to get your take on this. He was, I believe, purposely ambiguous about his sexuality, and I wonder if you had, if you think he was doing that for a reason. He referred to the fact that he hasn't yet chosen a life partner, and he said this. He said. He likes when people tweet out that he's gay because he likes to challenge people on their homophobia. And he said, so what does it matter if I am? So be it. I hope you're not voting for me because you're making the presumption that I'm straight. So what do you think he's doing there?
I didn't see that, Steve. It's kind of weird. As a guy, I personally like being a guy. I mean, you know, this is. I don't know if you saw the stories last year. They've been out quite a bit about how he likes to go out at 3:00 in the morning for a manicure and a pedicure.
No, I never saw that one. Where
yeah,
in Newark? What's open in Newark?
Well, yeah, we were looking. We couldn't find a 24-hour manicure pedicure in Newark. We did. Oh, yeah. There's lots and lots of stories about it. It was all over the place.
So, do you think he's gay?
I don't know. Oh, I don't know.
Do you think he's playing a game here, trying to leave that ambiguous on purpose?
Well, maybe that helps to get him the gay vote by acting ambiguous. I can't address. Although I don't like going out in the middle of the night or any time of the day for a manicure and pedicure. It was described as his peculiar fetish is how it was described. I have a more peculiar fetish. I like a good scotch and a cigar. That's my fetish, but we'll just compare the two.
All right. So what are the prospects now, Steve, going forward? I mean, when is the first debate, and how are things shaping up on the ground for your candidacy?
We have a phenomenal ground game going on in New Jersey. The polls are closing, as you would expect. Of course, the green flag for this race really taking off will be Labor Day weekend. It's still the summertime, and, you know, New Jersey, people are down the shore. They're focused on vacations, but they are starting to pay a lot more attention. Everywhere I go, Steve, I have a packed house. I'm on my way down to Cape May as we speak this evening for a nice fundraiser. I have a fundraising event tomorrow night in Bergen County with acting U.S. Senator Jeff Chiesa. I had a remarkable endorsement out of Governor Chris Christie last Tuesday. It was just terrific. The governor is out. He's been, passionate about this race. So the entire Republican Party is unified because this is an election that's going to be a referendum on the entire Obama agenda. And on Obamacare, on the Constitution, and on the Bill of Rights.
And we don't have time to go into it now, but your story is an amazing one. You don't like to talk about it that much, but I've heard you talk about it. I mean, people don't know you were raised by a single mom, for instance.
Yeah, my dad died when I was a teenager. My brother is even much younger than me. I grew up in a two-family house in Ridgefield Park, which is fine. You know, we grew up in this two-family house, and I look back at this small apartment. We had a two-bedroom apartment. My brother and I had bunk beds. And we were rich. You know, it's interesting. When you're a kid and you have a great family, you don't have to have money to think you're rich. I thought we were millionaires as far as I knew. Little did I know we had no money. You know, my dad was a Honeywell technician. He was a Korean War vet. He was a baseball, and he was you ready for this, Steve? A Boy Scout leader. That's right. I was a Boy Scout. My mom was a PTA president, and after my dad died, I moved in with my Italian immigrant grandparents.
Steve, your story is amazing, and next time we have you on, and I hope to get a debate on this show between you and Cory Booker. I know you'll agree to it. I'm going to try to work on him. All right, sir, good luck. We'll speak to you soon. And what's the website real quick?
LoneganForSenate.com. Lonegan.
You got it. Steve Lonegan.